All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts.
Right here, if you have a beard, random men are going to always walk up to you and try to lick your beard.
Ew, that's so disgusting. Oh.
You're one of Mitten's kittens.
Hold on, fuck. So I'm like, nope.
Oh, well, you lost all your fleets.
Oh fuck. Not what we intended. Oh god. What do we do?
The Meta Show.
What's up, everyone, guys? Welcome to the next episode of The Meta Show. Today's going to be pretty interesting because we do have a patch this coming week. So with every single patch coming, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. So you guys know the guy in the red shirt? Actually, the guy's in the red shirt today.
Oh, I see how it
Yeah.
is. You're trying to steal my style now. Maybe you don't quite have the collar. I mean, maybe you'd be more of like a bro. Do you want to like pop it up?
Well,
like,
I figured I could outdo you because you can't physically grow a beard, so I can have the red shirt and the beard. I got it both.
I laugh and it hurts because it's true. And now, actually, it's going to be very nice. I can see Laz's shiny face with his beard and everything now that we've got two webcams, such that I will stop interjecting and talking over him now. So this is great. If I end up like I'm going to stare into the camera, I'm not really staring into the camera. I'm just looking at Laz's image on my screen and going, wow, he's so pretty. I wish I had a beard like that. All right. But... No, it's actually, we've got a lot to talk about, guys. I mean, it's going to be a fairly gritty EVE Online show today, which is good. I always like to have tons of EVE news to talk about. We have Sword Dragon as a guest.
Yes.
That's going to be a whole thing. Sword Dragon, of course, is on the CSM, and the CSM just got back from a summit in Reykjavik last week. A lot of news came out of there, and we're going to be asking questions about that,
Well,
well as...
I think more notably, though, he's an alliance leader of an alliance that actually still lives in Nullsec. That's more rare than being a CSM member, I think, right at this point.
Yeah, it is actually the way that things have gone, especially because, I mean, so Darkness Dot, for those of you who are unfamiliar, Sword Dragon leads Darkness. They have Space in Aquarius and have been managing to hold on to it even after Pandemic Legion and a whole bunch of other people have been preying on them for content for some time now. So, meanwhile, while a whole bunch of other alliances all around that territory have collapsed, Sword Dragon's territory has remained, and his alliance is still there, even though they just lost a Titan last week, and that guy apparently quit the game. Just in time for the last meta show. That was interesting. Speaking of Titans being lost, just before meta shows, 20 minutes ago, an Erebus went down in Lowsec, fit with nothing but Capri Chargers, Tech 2 Capri Chargers, capacitor power relays, a Sino, and a Proto-Cloak. Ladies and gentlemen, this may be the single worst fit Erebus in the history of EVE Online. Even if you are trying to use this thing as a transfer, just like gonna bop it over and sell it to somebody else, I'm gonna link the kill in chat, guys. Take a look at this thing. God damn, 100 billion is just down the drain. At least he didn't spend too much on the fittings, right?
Yeah. He had to have just bought this thing. He had to have just bought this.
Yeah, this has got to be somebody's alt, because this is the character that it's on has only been in the Scope, which is an NPC corp, the entire time. So I have no idea what the story there is. It looks like we have Hypno Kitten has been firing. Somebody is saying to get rid of that damn cat. We love Hypno Kitten. We obey Hypno Kitten. We do not get rid of Hypno Kitten. Hypno Kitten is love. Hypno Kitten is life, and that is how we roll.
And I guess before we jump into the Nullsec Power Hour, guys, I want to go ahead and tell you today's giveaways. We do have the two rookie faction rookie pirate ships that we're giving away that we give away every week, and we also have a poster set. If you've seen the Battlecruiser poster set by Rick Shavix, we have one of those that we're giving away to you guys today. And also, brand new to the channel, if you look at the center column of the profile below the stream, you see the very first Spy Guy logo. You can click that and you can donate to the stream. So obey Hypno Kitten, give them your money.
We're pretty much last of the party in terms of donations. Our streamers have been doing so much great work for us and really promoting the community as a whole, and we wanted to give people a chance to actually give money to their favorite streamers on TMC rather than just subscribing. Some people want to do more, and so now you can. Shameless plug, we do not disguise any of our plugging. We have, of course, thank you. Speaking of shameless plugs, Razer Kraken, so we have blue microphones. Yes. We have poster sets we're giving away because of CCP. So that is, you know, we're never going to lie to you and try to disguise a plug. We'll just tell you straight up when we're doing it. So why don't we, let's Nullsec Power Hour this thing. Let's
just wanted to throw up the window, guys. We are swapping into our Nullsec Power Hour, which should last about 10 minutes as usual. So Power Hour is just how much you guys would typically like to see it, and we just always disappoint you. That's the way I see it.
We're gonna have, at one of these points, we're probably gonna have a nullsec roundtable special where we get like just you, me, and Elise, and maybe
Elise is my bro.
Oh yeah, Elise is awesome, and just get together and talk shop for well, because there's always a lot of interest in that.
I just had a great idea.
Oh God, please don't.
All right, so October 23rd, I think October 24th. That date might sound familiar to you, but I know a few people like myself, you, and Elise will be there on a Saturday, a Meta Show day in Vegas. What about
that? Will be awesome. We'll have to somehow be vertical on. So basically, if it's going to be Meta Show time, that'll be close to Pacific time. That'll mean around
that's
noon
1 p.m.
or 2.
1 p.m. Pacific time, yeah.
Waking up by 1 the day after the pub crawl in Vegas. Well, that'll be a thing. I might be sitting here like on camera, but see, now you can see Les can see my pretty face because the way that he's reacting to that horrifying expression I just made. But I think that Vegas is always a riot. I'm really looking forward to it. We have a lot of really cool stuff for our community as a whole that we're going to be showing, and of course, all the news that CCP is bringing to the table. One of the things, and we might want to. I'm just going to throw this out here because we're talking about Vegas. Is since CCP Siegel has come back and taken command and taken charge, she's front and center as the product owner of EVE Online, and that has been wonderful ever since the 07 show a couple weeks ago. They have now announced that they're going to be responding to what the community wants and telling us a lot of information about the upcoming capital and super capital rebalances, and that's going to be announced at EVE Vegas. So even if you can't make it, which if you can't make it, there's something wrong with you, for God's sakes, get there. You can watch, and there's a lot of opportunity for us to get some good, solid EVE news that the community's been looking for a long time now. So I'm pumped. Also, Vegas.
Yes, Vegas will be amazing. It was last year, my first year. So we'll go back this year. But I guess actual EVE news going on right now, and speaking of community and stuff like that, let's talk about BNI kicking its inactives. So,
oh my. Yes. Okay, so nullsec Power Hour. Are we there?
We're there. We're already in it. We've been in it for about 5 minutes now, bro.
Okay,
come on.
Well, okay, so we've got 55 minutes of Power Hour left. Great.
Yes.
So Brave Newbies finally got around to kicking their inactives, and Lichten Krondor finally handed over the CEO-ship and the shares and everything to. I believe is it Nancy Crow who's still in charge of that over there? I mean, it's a mess, but they finally kicked their inactives. Now, when we say kicking inactives, this is a sort of an important thing. Alliances need to know their fighting weight, right? If you're in nullsec or if you're doing anything, you need to know how many actual characters you have that are active. Brave Newbies never kick their inactives. So for the entirety of their existence, they have been bloating up with all these characters, and people had no idea what they could actually put on the field. And so now what we've found is that they are actually smaller than Karma Fleet now. So actually, I'm going to mute my microphone so you don't have to hear me typing. I'm going to look this information up. Laz, what do you think about BNI's fighting strength and this process?
What's crazy is they did this inactive purge live on stream. They literally streamed themselves kicking the inactives, which I thought was kind of comical, because goons have done pretty big purges, but we never went to that level of publicity for it.
We've always done it. Yeah, they're down to 1,385 members, and they previously speaking had about 10,000 listed. So what that tells you is that, I mean, really, if we're going to be kind of real talky, this just goes to show you the damage of poor leadership. I mean, like brass tacks, guys. Goonstorm always kicks our inactives because we want to know what our fighting weight is. These guys never did, and so a lot of the times, militarily speaking, people are thinking that they had an alliance that was, 10,000 strong, and the reality is you got 1,400 actives.
Right.
Now, I bet you if they had been more, if they'd not done the council thing, if they hadn't had the leadership problems, if they had regularly kicked their inactives every, 1 to 2 months, people would have seen a warning of the decline, right? They could watch the decline whenever there was an inactive purge and taken corrective action ahead of time.
Well, and to jump in there right before we keep going into it, though, and speaking of Vegas, like we did earlier, Lichten is actually, I'm pretty sure the topic is he's giving a presentation on running an alliance. I'm pretty sure that's his topic for his Vegas presentation.
So is that going to be running an alliance into the ground?
Essentially, yes.
I can think. I can think a few people more well qualified for that. Okay. I mean, the reason why I'm kind of crabby about the whole Brave Newbies thing is that like a lot of the EVE community, we were big supporters of Brave Newbies when we came around. When they came around, Goonswarm and the Imperium offered them territory in Delve. We offered them territory in Fountain, and it wasn't until Licton had stepped aside that June Ting from Of Sound Mind Alliance, which is now in a wormhole, under her brief leadership, they got some territory in Fountain. People were happy. It looked like things could pull out, and then it's just so whatever. But it's just a lost opportunity. On the other hand, this is a wonderful opportunity for us to plug Karma Fleet. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are one of the bazillion min actives and Brave Newbies, there are a number of other Reddit-based organizations that you would be delighted to join, that would be delighted to have you, that adhere to the principles of promoting newbies without any of this democracy, drama, council, idiocy bullshit. So Karma Fleet, Pandemic Horde, Fwedit. There's lots of options out there, not necessarily in the Imperium. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Karma Fleet, and Marconius Porkbutt is an excellent leader. He also helps make all of our videos on TheMittani.com look as wonderful as they do. So that is our shameless plug. Like I told you guys at the start of the show, I'm never going to plug you without telling you that you're going to get plugged. So, and there's a little bit of innuendo there, but we're not going to go there. So
we need an emote for it. I think we need a subscriber emote for horrible plugs. Like just baby. Oh wow!
My mind is going in so many different places, and then I'm remembering that we are on live TV, so we really shouldn't go there. So anyway, Karma Fleet is awesome. It's good to see Brave Newbies kicking all of these inactives, but it does go to show you the danger of illusions in leadership.
They've also swapped from Brave Collective to Brave Squids, and they're going to be doing faction warfare.
That's worked out really well for a whole bunch of other nullsec alliances fleeing to faction warfare before. I'm sure that. Okay, I can't even complete deadpan. I can't even go all the way through it. I mean,
they can join the ranks of Nulli Secunda, who I believe went back to faction warfare. Trying to think of other ones. They're all gone now. So.
Well, fair to Nulli Secunda is one of the alliances that closed their doors, and we're going to be talking to Sword Dragon about that when he comes on the show. But Nulli Secunda is actually one of the few success stories of a nullsec alliance going to faction warfare and coming back stronger. So in the midst of the sort of confusion and negativity regarding Brave Newbies, I do want to call out and praise Nulli Secunda for losing their space in Sovnul, going to faction warfare, and instead of disintegrating there, actually under Pro God Legend Gorga's leadership, they came back stronger from faction warfare. So it doesn't have to be a death sentence. It just usually is. All right. Let's talk about. Do you want to talk about Dead Titans, or do we want to talk about NC Dot? Because those are some of.
Let's get the painful one first, which is people being dumb. Our own guys being dumb for a change.
We love our guys, and remember that in the Imperium we are bad at EVE Online, but we work together and we are organized, which is why we win, because our people deserve the best, as does. That's sort of our view on a lot of things. But people, particularly in peacetime, will get feisty with Titans. So what we had here was. There was an attempt to doomsday a Rorqual in Veil of the Silent, and they brought in one of their Titans to doomsday it, and it wasn't enough. And then they brought in a second Titan to try to doomsday it, and I don't know did they actually manage to kill the Rorqual?
I think they finally did. I think the second doomsday finished it off. I didn't actually look. I was too busy face palming. To be completely honest.
The fact of the matter is, and this is sort of a broader point, so I mean, they were doing a gank, it was a flub gank, they got ganked in return. We are now seeing Titans in EVE Online, particularly because of the Phoebe changes. Titans in EVE Online have become the carriers and the super carriers from a few years ago, right? There was this period of time where, like, a loss of a Titan was huge, and then some jerk with a sort of orangish red shirt that's not as good as mine was in a little battle called BR5, which is another thing we should actually talk to Sword Dragon about now that I think about it, because he played a major part in BR5. But after BR5, people are like, hey, it's a Titan, it died. Titan proliferation has become such a thing, and they die so rapidly because there's only so many points in lowsec that you can jump a Titan through, right? Can you actually talk about the mechanics on this, Laz?
Yeah.
I don't understand them perfectly.
The problem with jump fatigue and the way it works right now is if someone sees you moving, then they can easily plot where you're going to be going because you have a 5 light year radius. And 5 light year is not big at all. There's such a small amount of systems, and the amount of alts that these groups like the Wrecking Crew with Rocket X and his boys, they have so many Hictor alts that they can literally put a Hictor in every single one of those 5 AU systems, or 5 light year systems. So basically the only thing that you can really do to move a super solo through low sec at this point in time is to do it every single day at downtime, like 30 seconds before the servers go offline, and just do that for a week straight. Literally every single downtime you have to wake up, jump, then let it log you off as you jump out, and then do it over and over and over again. And then they can still kill you if they decided to, if they have enough Titans to jump in and doomsday you before you're able to jump. It really, really frustrates me. I'm really upset with what CCP with the Phoebe changes have done to small groups with their super capitals.
I think that, you know, we're going to see hope, a ray of hope at Vegas when they're going to be talking about the rebalancing there. I don't think that anybody who was implementing the Phoebe changes realized that low sec could be brought down to choke points, and that it would basically turn into a you know, just a series of rotating blades like an abattoir for Titans. But that just is the way it is. So almost twice a week now we're seeing Titans die, not to flood ganks like in this case, but just the one that happened 20 minutes before the show. They're dying in low sec. Rocket X was at the top of that kill mill. Rocket X is an awesome dude from PL. Met him at FanFest a couple times. I love him to death, and he is the best at what he does. But let's move on a little bit from that. We have one of our viewers, Shaunosaurus, has been mentioning in chat if we're going to be talking about the Black Legion disbanding. Apparently, people can hear my dog, who is sitting over here. I'm going to screw up all the green screen and everything if I sort of point the camera at her. But if you hear a warbling Malamute in the back, that's what's going on. So Black Legion disbanding.
We covered that quite a bit last week, and I know I actually talked to Ragnar Bile this week, and his little faction of the whole disbanding group is in Content Ring, as he called it. So they're down there in Cloud Ring, and apparently they're getting a lot of fights. So the faction that didn't actually follow Elo into Snuffbox and go with them is still having a lot of fun, and they're still playing together. So they aren't completely out of it. They're just reformed into a new brand.
That's excellent. Ragnar really took leadership when Black Legion was starting to take space in Fountain, so it's good to see that those guys are still around. But in a sort of a similar vein, this is a nice segue into a similar organization, Northern Coalition NC, who the Imperium has been fighting against in a number of wars forever. We've always won. Not saying, just saying. But so
completely modest, guys.
Anyway, but they lost two of their major corps. Within this last few days, actually, they lost both Nex X. I always mangle the name of this. Nex Exercitus, Latin guild name, as well as Macabre Votum, which is also a Latin guild name. That's actually one of my favorite MMORPG in-jokes. I saw it in World of Warcraft many years ago, where somebody literally had their guild name Latin guild name. Just two on point there. So wow, two big corps leaving NC. What do you think about that?
Well, MV is a super old corp. MV was one of the strongest players inside Morsis Mihi back in Morsis Mihi's heyday, which was years ago, which is kind of scary to think about. And them leaving is kind of a big punch to NC. Because they do have a lot of supers, they have a lot of old players, a lot of old money. So them losing is definitely a hit to NC. And it kind of is telling the state of the alliance at the moment.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest problems that you have in an alliance, and people will troll me all the time for not logging into EVE that much, except when it's like war, leadership needs to be active, right? Right. I am always around and I'm always present on Jabber and talking to people and doing shows and whatever. If you are in charge, you need to show your people that you are working to make things better for them, right? People want strong leadership, and they want to also show leadership. They want to see leadership that is looking out for their interests. And one of the things that happened with both Black Legion and NC, the part of Black Legion that was being led effectively, i.e. by Ragnar Bile and his crew, that's still going on. Meanwhile, you're starting to see corporations leave NC because Vince Draken is just not there. He'll pop up, he'll send an alliance update out, yelling at people and telling corporations to kick their inactives, and very clearly now that honeymoon period is over. Like you gotta be around, and that's another thing that like Licton will probably be talking about at Vegas. Is again, these rules of human leadership are not new and different and special just because we're playing a game about spaceships. you know, Licton would go away for long periods, Vince would go away for long periods, Ela would go go away for long periods, and you know, you see what happens. You know, your people need to see you caring, working, fighting, doing whatever you can to protect and help them. And when they don't, they leave.
Yeah. Well, and Swart actually corrected us in chat earlier. Apparently, Nancy will be taking over a Licton spot and talking about running alliances.
Okay.
So the Licton, we were able to dodge that grenade because apparently Licton did not respond to manifest for nailing down that spot actually. But
okay.
Yeah, rip.
That's going to be interesting. So Nancy Crow is going to be doing a speech at Vegas about how to run an alliance, and well, I mean, you never know, actually. I mean, let's go ahead and move this back, because I don't want to say only negative things about Brave Newbies.
Oh.
So to Nancy Crow's credit, right, here is a relative unknown. He or she has been in charge for a bit and has finally gone around and slain one of the sacred cows of Brave, which was not kicking in actives. So the fact that Nancy went and did this and made a big deal of it and turned it into sort of a carnival Twitch stream event is a sign of good, effective leadership, right? She's going around dealing with the mistakes of the past, making good on them, and confronting the ugly reality. The ugly reality is you have this many people, this is where you are. But until you admit that you have screwed something up, you can't learn from your mistakes. So good on her for making the hard choice, and it'll be interesting to see what she has to say at Vegas.
And back to NC Dot, Vince apparently has been logging in this past week. I ran at least one fleet that I know of a small Symbol gang in the U.S. time zone, and apparently he's on a U.S. time zone schedule right now, and will be back to normal here coming October. So cross your fingers. Apparently October is the date now. This is not the first time that he's moved the date that he'll be back active again, and it's not surprising to see Corpse leaving.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, whenever we talk from, you know, the bully pulpit of the meta show, and, you know, Laz and I, of course, are both in Goons form, right? And we're in the Imperium, and we've been fighting against NC Dot forever in one iteration or another. So it's really important when we talk about this and we say things like, you know, absent leadership, blah, 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 that we don't hammer it too hard, right? If Vince comes back, that's great. We are obviously biased because we've been on the wrong side of NC Dot for a very long time. So we don't want to go whole hog about that. We can just say, take it with a grain of salt. Maybe Vince is going to come back and it's going to be great, and we're just throwing shade, as it were. Obviously, I've been watching a little bit too much RuPaul's Drag Race recently. Throwing shade. Anyway, nobody here in chat is going to get that, and that is fine. Do we want to talk about... we should probably move into CCP, please, and also probably bring Sir Dragon in. But before we do that... I'm just gonna, because I've got the collared red shirt, which means I get to be in charge. We still want to touch on the loss of 7 wyverns at once.
Yeah, we hit that real quick. There was apparently, they were caught by Gentleman's Club, and then they bat from Pandemic Legion. Pandemic Legion, I believe, went from Delve all the way to Nephris. Apparently it's like 30 jumps or something like that, just to get all these kills. So it was a really, really long trek for them to get there. But they were able to bag 7 of the Soviet Union wyverns. So you won't be able to, like most of the time Russians get kicked in the balls like this once a year, and then you won't see their supers for 6 months, and they'll rebuild and they'll come back.
Well, at least we are seeing, like, as much as we're saying that the low-sec ganks are crap, like, at least we are, and this wasn't a low-sec gank, this is, at least we're seeing some return to activity in terms of supers being used regularly, even if they are getting lost, right? Like, people are fishing again, that adds an edge of excitement. You know, don't be stupid with them, obviously, but at least stuff is happening there. I think now is a good time for us to close up this section of the show. And let's see, why don't we bring Sword in for CCP, please, and we can just go over this with him since he's been in Reykjavik.
We can do that, adding him right now.
And several people in our chat are pointing out that they do understand and appreciate RuPaul's Drag Race and all of the wonderfulness behind it. So that's good. I'm not the only one. And there is Sword Dragon, the man, the myth, the legend. How are you doing today, dude?
What's about yourselves?
Several people in our chat. Wonderful. You need to actually turn off
the sound on your laptop.
There we go.
Get your speakers coming through.
We almost had a very exciting bit of echo. You can hear my voice through the matrix.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. We're set up. We have we're cutting off the right side of Laz's shoulder, but it looks like we're good beyond that. Excellent. So, how are things, dude? It's been a while.
Things are good. Came back from Iceland with the death flu, as we all know from going to Iceland before. Came back not wanting to play either, if I'm honest, after a week of the summit.
Non-stop.
Yeah, as you would probably know. But things are good. Things are much better than they were before the summit.
That's good. So what we want to do here, what we're going to talk about, we're going to go into our CCP Please segment, and Laz has already run the fancy CCP logo there. So before we get into the interview, we're just going to be talking about some of the changes that are coming up and get your input on them as well. So this is going to be kind of a roundtable type thing. One of the biggest things that we're looking forward to, of course, is the Vanguard update, which is going to be deployed on this upcoming Tuesday. And probably the single biggest item in Vanguard, well, there's two big ones, right? Exactly. There's the interceptors will no longer be able to fit in Tosis links, which is something that the player base has been suggesting in one form or another for a very long time. And the other big one we're going to be talking about is the fact that there is a massive boost to the skill points added to new characters in the game, which is good for a whole pile of reasons that deserves several minutes of discussion. Thank you so much, by the way, for obeying HypnoKitten. We had JMJ99 there, or JimJ99, I should say.
That was like 8 months in a row from Jim. Pretty big.
Let's talk about the Entosis link. So, what's your view on the Entosis link problem about troll scepters, about the speed limit? Let's get your perspective.
I mean, the problem with regards to scepters as a whole was that when they nerfed the speed limit, it didn't really change anything. Because of course you could like warp out and stuff in there, and you couldn't go 12k a second in the Orthrases, which is what we used in most of the sieges. But when it came to a scepter, the fact that you could still burn away without having to put the common terminology that's been used as skin in the game all the time, it really affected how people engaged and disengaged in regards to Sov.
Yeah, so people could basically put at risk an interceptor and then be able to scamper away to try to create a Sov contest. And there's just, the risk versus reward just wasn't there. Like, they're not anteing up in order to get that. But this, with the speed limit change and no longer being able to fit a hack link on an interceptor, do you think that this is going to have the impact that's necessary? I mean, or is everybody just going to shift to, Navy Omens? And I think it's
the first step, but at the same time, I think regarding the speed element is still there on a faction frigate. The speed element is still there on most frigates in itself, and so I think where it has it currently, I don't think it's there yet. But initially, it's there. It's the interceptor part where you can just blow all camps away and go wherever you want, and then in reality, you can just burn away and nobody can screw with you. But you can still do that with a frigate, but you can't get through bubbles. So people can still make choke points with regards to camps and stuff to stop frigates.
Now, I know that, at the CSM Summit, you can't tell us everything that took place there because there's some minutes, but there is an NDA. So just as a question, if you can answer, part of the reason why interceptors having hacking modules on them was such a problem was the interdiction nullification, which I'm not a fan of it. I think that it's silly. I think, did that come up at the summit, and what's your position on that?
Yeah, I mean, interdiction nullification has been a thing that's been brought up by a lot of people, both on the CSM and like the questioning regarding why it's in the game and why not. And I'm not sure, I haven't actually checked the minutes if it was brought in, but there was a discussion in regards to ship balancing regarding it, but we weren't 100% sure if that's public or not. But I know that interdiction nullification as a whole, I think pretty much all of the CSM agree that it's a bit of a weird mechanic, and its implementation to attack and defense is not, doesn't have a fitting in the game currently.
Yeah, interdiction nullification on interceptors is the stupidest thing I've ever seen out of EVE Online.
Yeah,
I'm very passionate about this, as you can see.
Thanks for telling it how it is.
Yes.
There you go.
I can understand it if it was on a shuttle. I never really understood it on a Scepter. I never really understood it on a T3 because there's no real need for it. I mean, if you're using it as a travel mechanic, stick it on a shuttle.
That's my exact comment.
Go ahead, sir.
That's my exact comment. I said if you want a space taxi, put a freaking space taxi in the game. Don't give it into a interceptor. Which as soon as it was put in, the first thing we saw from it was we saw the ECM Raptors come in from Asher. Asher made the ECM Raptors.
Yeah,
and then after that we had the Fozzie Claws.
I went against that myself in Curious against Brave.
Yes, and
it's utterly horrible. And I in that sense, I think the idea of it has merit, but I think CCP has to decide what it's used for. Do you want it used in combat, or do you want it used in travel? And once you work out that particular thing, then if you want it used in combat, give the ability to shut it down by like a hick bubble or something like that. But if you want it used in travel, do it on shuttles.
Yeah, I mean, like the Opus Luxury Yacht is a perfect example of a functional space taxi, right? That's a cruise hull, it can get around, it cloaks, it can't really be used in combat. I'm glad to see that the hack link stuff is dealt with, but one of the reasons why interdiction nullification on interceptors is so dumb is that we get to see, using Laz's technical term of art, I should say, problematic or challenging or something that needs investigation, as opposed to dumb as all hell. But
it is dumb as all hell.
Like with,
Thanks,
in the Providence campaign, that brief little chevauché we went on, I'm getting better at saying that, that brief little campaign we went on, Fozzie Claws, as they're called, were a major factor in that. So it's not just that you see hacking links on interceptors, but who came up with this, it was one of the guys in PL, I believe, is a genius ship design. It's just amazing. So they're sniper artillery claws that also have, I believe, a warp stab or two on them, and they can just zoom in, snipe something, zoom out. They're impossible to catch because they're stabbed and they're interdiction nullified. Yeah. And I think that far more than hacking interceptors illustrating the problems associated with nullification, those sniping combat interceptors that are uncatchable. Talking about risk reward, there is no risk at all for the attacker there. Right. There is massive reward.
I think one thing that people fail to realize, and I think this is one of the things with CCP as well, there was no reason to bring it in. There was no niche concept in the game that was needed to have these scepters with interdiction nullification. There wasn't about newbies can't get it, because in reality newbies can't use scepters. So there was nothing to bring it in for, and I never understood why in the first case it was actually brought into the game.
Reasons. I'm sure there were very good reasons. But let's stop crapping on this and talk about something.
We can talk about this all night if anything.
Let's talk about something positive, and this is something that I've been, as a leader of an organization that has always been dedicated to new players, that being Goonswarm. It is one of the things I've been seeing from our newbies across the organization and across EVE as a whole is the skill points that you get when you join the game on a new character are tiny. You get 50,000 XP when you start. Why does this matter? Well, back in the day when EVE came out, MMO players and people who were joining the game had expectations that games would be kind of like EverQuest. They would have really long grinds. Now, keep in mind, when EVE was released, guys, this was before World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft didn't even exist when EVE came out. So it comes originally from a heritage that is much more Ultima Online, EverQuest, all these really old school grindy or like just timescale learning cliff games. So now in this patch, new characters are going to start with 400,000 skill points, which is amazing because I think that that's going to allow our guys to start playing the game and instantly get into T2 ships of some kind without sitting there and twiddling for weeks. Sort, did this come up at the summit? Is this something that you guys were pushing? Maybe you can tell us a little about that.
Yeah, I mean, Rise and his group of dudes that have done a really good job of passing it back and forward with people who have experiences with new player experience. And we had a lot of input into what was enough, and I know that they're definitely looking to see if it's not enough or if it's too little or what kind of things that they could have for newbies to advance further in the game quicker. And I think that's a very important thing because, at least from my point of view, when I started, I think most of my characters had over 1 million skill points when they started. I can't remember to be sure. And when it dropped down to 50k, it was incredible the amount of effort that newbies had to put in to actually get immersion into the game.
Yeah. Well, I just want to remind people here that if you are thinking about playing EVE Online and you are a new player, remember, here is the pro tip from me, a big jerk, as to how to get a big fancy character with tons of skill points. Get in the game, learn how to scam somebody out of everything they have, because it's EVE, you can do that, get billions of ISK, and buy a new character, which is completely legit. This is a thing that I think should almost be in the tutorial for EVE. Maybe putting scamming in the tutorial is bad, but it is one of the unique selling points of EVE, is that you can actually come into the game and instantly level yourself up to the level of your cleverness. If you can find somebody, get their ISK, and the next thing you know, instead of going, wow, I really need to wait for a year before I can actually be a badass space pilot, scam somebody, buy a badass space pilot, and then do it again and buy another until you have all the stuff you want. And that's how we roll and how we try to teach our newbies to be jerks. Yeah, but it works.
Profitable jerks.
That's what I did when I first started playing. Is I saved up money and I bought a character immediately. Like I think within like the first week, I bought a character. So it's definitely what everyone should be doing. if you can afford it and if you can get the money for it. But 400,000 SP, the biggest thing about it is a lot of those 400,000 SP are going to be going towards the support skills that you need to actually properly fit a ship, and that's more important than actually being them like just rocketing into a cruiser or something like that. But getting that core basis, and that way they can project from there. So I'm really excited for it.
I think them also having the skills implanted actually in the character is a big thing as well, because a lot of us who've started like years and years ago, back then when we started, we wouldn't have known that maybe I needed warp drive at this particular level or anything else. And having it, even if it's at level 1, which a lot of the skills are, it's allowing people to know exactly what's going on. And I need to use this particular skill.
So did this come from CCP Rise's team? I forget which team it is, but Rise was, of course, working as well on the opportunity system, which I've been a big fan of.
I'm not 100% sure because I didn't really follow. Like, we were basically told, go have a look at this, give us your feedback. And it came up at the summit as well. I'm not 100% sure exactly who was involved in it. And I also don't want to do the whole thing of dropping particular people into it because
right,
CCP
it should be more about teams rather than...
Yeah, exactly. CCP's done the best thing that they have done all year, which was move everything from being solely one person to being releasing dev blogs as teams.
And that is very wise, and it's good for the devs as a whole, and also keeps the player base more understanding as to what actually happens, because it's not like with Fozzie Sav, it was really just Fozzie, right? That's not all that.
One thing, and I think one thing that I was going to write a blog about it after the summit, but it was brought up by one of the CSM members after the first day that it was actually hard to see who had traveled and who had jet lag between us and the devs, because they were putting in hours and hours and hours of work, and they were coming to the desk and they were honestly looked like they'd been through like hell, just because they'd been working a hell of a lot.
Oh, with the pace, right?
Yeah,
the pacing of the release cycle.
and not just that, but the whole the player base not being as nice as they could be to certain devs. And so I think to help for the future, them moving that to teams is a very important thing, because it won't have anybody particularly hit, and I mean Fozzie, because he took a massive whack when in reality it was his whole team that was working on the project, and us as CSM know that, but I think the player base can be very selective of who they like to blame.
I want to touch on something here, sort of a broader point regarding the skill point addition. So, and then we're going to be moving into asking Laz about the Battlecruiser Buff, because this is his.
I'm pretty excited about him.
Yeah, this is going to be a whole thing. But before Laz gets on his soapbox, I'm going to get on mine. So, look. EVE is the hardest game on the planet. It is Somalia in space. The fact that it is so hard, so brutal, so ruthless is one of its amazing selling points, and why it attracts such ambitious, interesting, curious people who are fun to party with in Vegas. Shameless plug for Vegas. Go there. But whenever there is a change that makes things easier for new players, there is some people within the game who will accuse EVE of CCP of making EVE too soft. Now, here is the rant. There is an important distinction between good complexity and bad complexity, right? Having complexity in terms of ship fitting, good. Having a difficult game itself, that is good. When we see CCP working on the tutorial and when they're giving newer players more skill points, I mean, hell, I would say you start a new character, you get 3 million skill points, you get some free XP, shrink the number of skills that were necessary, get rid of the complexity within the skills. Like, EVE should be complex because of the interaction between humans, the way in which we blow each other up. Not, I have to read a manual to figure out how to have the optimal skills or even vaguely functional skills to be able to get to that content. So I am a huge advocate of reducing the barrier to entry and getting rid of bad complexity, right? And there is no better example of bad complexity, in my view, than the skill point grind. And just, I mean, hell, if CCP would get things to the point where they would let people just let people buy skill points. I mean, this is stupid. You can scam people. You can scam people for ISK and buy a character. Why don't they just cut out the middlemen, make skills easier, let people throw plex at skills, and get it easier for people to get into the game and get to the good complexity, which is these jerks here and all of the other interactions that we have with each other. So that's my little rant.
Yeah. Well,
no, I think it's a valid point. I think when you look at the complexity of where should the complexity lie, should it really lie in the fact that I don't understand these 351,000 skill points or skill books that are in the game, or should it be in the complexity of how do I turn left, how do I turn right, how do I go up, how do I go down? I believe that the complexity of the game should be in the actual game, not in the skill points. Like, there's no reason for it at all.
Okay, so here's one of the things I want to point out. This is one of the reasons why EVE is confusing. Take a look at this in chat. I said something naughty. I said let people buy skill points, and people are beginning to get worried about that. Some people are saying microtransactions, no, this, that, or the other
it's more. I think it's more of pay to win,
it.
like gold ammo type thing.
Think about it. In EVE, you can scam people and then buy a character with 100 million skill points, right? You can also buy a character for ISK, which means, walk with me here. I take my credit card, I buy 100 Plex. I convert that Plex into ISK in JITA. And then what happens? I buy a character on the Character Bazaar with it. Ladies and gentlemen, you have always been able to buy skill points in this game.
Yeah,
and if you don't realize it,
balance.
you're unaware of it. That is the reality that you live in today. Almost all the players that you're encountering at the top level in nullsec, a lot of these guys at some point have either gotten ISK or opened up their wallets and bought Plex and bought characters. So this is the reality we live in today, and people just don't like to talk about it. They don't realize the possibility is there. So before you freak out because I said a bad word and expose you to the reality that you live in today, think about it, look around, and realize the real. The difference between the real and expectation is the difference between Brave Newbies' numbers and their alliance and the number of people they actually have. Focus on the real. That's my rant.
Anyone fighting against the 400,000 SP needs to wake up and realize that 100 million SP on a character these days is low. So the 400,000 is negligible, and people shouldn't really be worrying about it. But let's move on. Let's hit these battle cruisers real quick.
Battle cruisers, Laz. This is the
territory. So the battle cruisers, guys, they're actually getting a really interesting set of buffs. If you look at the Myrmidon and Prophecy, both drone ships, if you remember the past 2 years, they've been a lot of controversy around drones, sentry drones to be exact. So they actually, instead of giving them some sort of drone bonus like for all drones, they give them a drone velocity bonus, which has zero impact on sentry drones. So the Myrmidon and the Prophecy, you're not gonna really see in a fleet aspect, maybe a small scale fleet when it comes to drones, but you won't see them actually as a fleet ship when it comes to massive fighting for sentry drones, just because that drone velocity bonus is completely useless for them. However, on the other side of the spectrum, the turret ships, you have the Hurricane, the Harbinger, and the Ferox, have amazing bonuses. Amazing bonuses that are going to be really, really fantastic for doing fleet warfare, small game warfare, any type of fighting. You have those three ships. And then also you have the Drake. So FC, can I bring my Drake? Might actually be a thing. With the velocity bonus it's getting, it could actually be a thing. So it's... Just keep your eye open, because Drakes
SMA's been proving that.
Yeah, they've killed quite a bit with the Drakes lately. And then final thing to hit for the battlecruisers is one thing that kind of slid past everyone's radar is the agility buffs for the battlecruisers. The agility buffs make the battlecruisers a lot more nimble, a lot more easier to use when it comes to reaction. So you don't have to wait for that huge lumbering time for it to get up to speed anymore. So it doesn't look like much, but it actually is a pretty big change when it comes to using the battlecruiser, especially in small scale and solo PvP. So if you haven't get on CC, the test server, you should get on and try them out. They are on the test server now, and have some fun.
It's going to be awesome to see that, because the old school battlecruiser brawls, like back when Drakes were a good doctrine, the reason why they slowed the server to a crawl wasn't just that they were an optimal ship. They were not the most optimal, but they had the best price point. They were durable, they were easy for relatively new players to get into, and people had a tremendous amount of fun with them, because then you would have FCs that were more eager to take fights, because if you lost a Drake, who cared? Their pilots were willing to be risky, because again, if you lost a Drake, who cared? So I think that this, if we see changes in the meta where people are slamming battlecruiser fleets into each other once again, that's just awesome all the way around.
Yeah, everyone in EVE loves the bloody fights, and that's what it looks like that they're hoping to move more towards that, and the bloody brawls are what we all want.
Yeah, I mean, it was a new FC thing as well back in the day. You'd give it to newbie FCs who hadn't tried a fleet before, give them 100 Drakes and say, it doesn't matter if you lose them or go have fun.
Okay, so why don't we actually move on into discussing things related to Sword Dragon? I mean, Sword. First of all, why don't you? We brought you in before. We wanted to hear your thoughts as a CSM on things. Why don't you actually introduce yourself to everybody? I mean, tell us about yourself, what you do in EVE, and then we'll start throwing daggers at you. Whereby daggers, I mean questions.
I guess this is the part where I'm the infamous Sword Dragon, where. Killer of coalitions. I was actually told by my wife to not. Last time I was interviewed was 2 years ago at FanFest, and I I relish the day that my coalition dies, and I think it was 3 weeks later the coalition
that worked
died.
out well. Yeah, you got what you wanted.
I was told to avoid that kind of line this time. Okay. So I mean, I lead a small group down in the bottom of the map called Guardians of the Galaxy, or by Elise's terminology, I think it's Dumpster Co, which is I mean, it's actually a pretty cool name. I mean, we were called Guardians of the Galaxy because IT decided to call us, like the IT department decided to call us that, and you kind of don't really get to fight with IT when they decide on things. Suddenly all our names were Guardians of the Galaxy. And then Elise started the Dumpster Co on Reddit, and that kind of stuck to those people. But yeah, I lead an alliance called Darkness. We're kind of a small to medium-sized alliance, I guess you could call it in today's game. But yeah, I'm never really good about talking.
That's actually one of the first things we want to ask you about. I mean, you have had Darkness and Quarius for some time now, and meanwhile, a lot of the alliances that were nominally allied with Darkness at one point or another were fighting Darkness for content. Either we're talking about NC Dot, we're talking about Black Legion. We've seen a lot of alliances, frankly, implode since the patch, and yours is still standing. And you're in an interesting position. You're both an alliance leader. You've been involved in a lot of fights, and your alliance and your little coalition has outlasted a lot of these other guys. What do you think about why you've seen so many of your recent enemies implode? You've been close to the action.
It's so easy to basically quit the game. I mean, it's so easy now for a lot of the bigger groups to be like, screw it, I'll go and join another alliance. It happened with Nully. It happened to an extent with Black Legion. They just basically get to the point where the leaders don't want to lead anymore, and so they just basically decide where is the best place for me to get content where I don't have to do so much. I mean, a lot of us who started playing the game when we were 15 or 16 years of age didn't have lives, sat in our basements or our parents' houses and decided to have a bit of fun. Nowadays, I mean, I started when I was 16. I'm now 28 this year. So, I mean, you grow up. That's the biggest thing for it. Alliance leaders grow up. They don't really have a place to be anymore, and they just want to give up. And there aren't that many leaders left in the game who actually want to lead alliances.
That is one of the things that's weird to me, because I hear lots of excuses as to why people don't want to lead, or usually the most common excuse is people say that they want to, they're growing up, they're done with Eve, blah blah blah. What we've seen from our spy agency and just dealing with the situation many times is you have alliances where the leader doesn't seem to know how to delegate. Right, or always want to have control, is unwilling to work with a team or things like that. Your alliance has stood strong. It still exists. You're not overwhelmed. I'm not overwhelmed. The many alliances are still running around just fine. So, I mean, I'm not really sure that I buy into the game has changed and people grew up excuse. I see it as excuse.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think people burn out a lot quicker because they don't delegate. I mean, that's the gist of it. I mean, they burn out, and then they basically say, I don't want to. I guess you could say they do get to the age where they grow up, and then they realize I don't want to take this on myself anymore, and I'm not willing to delegate, which is a stupid excuse, really, because there are a lot of people in a lot of alliances. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I used to be like that many years ago, and you basically get to the point where you realize there's perfectly good people out there who can do the job better than you. And so why not give them the chance to do it? And of course, you always open yourself up to getting screwed over, but in a sense, it's the benefits outweigh the negatives.
So one of the things that has been really interesting to see is, again, your alliance is still around. A lot of the people who have been around you have imploded, and then you went off to Reykjavik for the summit. Can you tell us what it was like going to this summit, how you felt about it, and how did it go?
The summit was actually incredible. I mean, I was on CSM 8, and it was a lot different to now. The summit, like I said, a lot of the devs are very tired. They looked very tired. They looked very worn out. But it came down a lot of the time in a lot of the sessions to basically communication. It came down to things that we would get told in the summit that we didn't know, and we were like, well, if you just had told the players that, I think a lot of this issue would be gone. And I think this summit as a whole, from what we know and what we saw before the summit, there's definitely potential for a lot of excitement. But at the same time, it came up a lot of the time that the NDA stopped that excitement coming through. The minutes were, in a sense, they were really well done. Falcon basically burnt himself out on writing them up. But a lot of people were like, oh, well, can you tell us more? But I understand the potential for people wanting to, or CPC wanting to wait to Vegas. And I think to get the excitement that we had at the summit, you're going to have to wait to Vegas. And this is me basically helping you guys out getting people to Vegas, but that's basically where the next thing is.
Okay, so I mean, it sounds like in general you were bullish about the summit. Like, I mean, you seem like you're saying that the good news hasn't been able to come out because of NDA stuff, but like you don't seem very gloom and doom.
No, I mean, I was. It was very hard. I mean, a lot of the stuff for the HP stuff for the Citadels, for example, it was for us. We knew a couple of weeks before for the summit, and up until towards the summit, it was more like, oh well, I guess we'll see what happens. I guess we'll see what happens at the summit, and then we saw the stuff about the HP stuff for Citadels, and then it was like, just wait for the summit. Just wait for the summit. Something's going to come out at the summit. It's a really good idea, and then the summit comes along, and it's like, okay, wait for Vegas. But there is a dev blog coming out now. We have all this information for you, and it I mean, you would know it as a leader when you seem excited and when you seem happy, your members are happy. Like they can read off your own body language and see if you're happy.
Right.
And I think that was a lot easier for me because it did weigh a lot on me, the state of the game, and going to the summit and a lot of things that were brought up were like, yeah.
There was an easy way on you joke to be made there. I think Laz wants to ask you about Fozisov and your experiences as a leader. We're going to do that between the we got the giveaway.
I'm actually going to jump in here right quick and see you guys. If you haven't spoken chat yet, make sure you do. We're rolling to the giveaway process. We've got about 7 minutes left on the show. We're giving away 2 Pirate Faction rookie ships. So make sure you type in for that, and then. I guess while you guys do that, we'll do both those giveaways about 30 seconds, minute or so. And so, how has Fozisov affected Darkness? Have you guys had any conflicts with people coming in and messing with your stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we had the Reavers. We had Boat come around as well. We had PL come around as well. I think it's all about the indexing. If you have your stuff indexed well enough, people generally won't bother. But it's also about not pissing off the people around you that are bigger than you. I.e., you piss off a bigger group, you can generally survive. It's always about kissing the ring. You've got to kiss the right ring, basically. That's basically what it is. You've got it. That's how it is.
Here, let me hand you this air pump so you can plug it into Alex's mouth and blow up his head some more.
Well, I kissed the right ring when I was at FanFest. I knelt and I kissed the ring of Maximilian Singularity, the 6th, first of his name, the True Emperor. So there's nothing wrong with a little ring kissing in this day and age.
But so with your indexes, have you had any issues getting your indexes up or raising them to a point to where it starts to deter the attackers from hitting them, or have you had issues actually maintaining the indexes?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things that I see right now is that a lot of people, as a CSM rep, a lot of people have come up to me and said, raising indexes is like a job. It's turned into the time I would spend going and PvPing would be, I would sit and play indexing. And I think if you do it correctly, if you find the correct way of raising your indexes, you can do it better. But if you just, a lot of the time, a lot of the player base focuses more on the negative than focus on fixing the problem. And I think to an extent, some of it's CCP and some of it's the player base not willing to find the solution themselves. And so we haven't had that much of a problem keeping our indexes up, but a lot of people have said, oh, why is this such a chore?
What do you think is the proper way to raise an index? I mean, if you guys have figured out, what do you suggest?
Mining is the best way. I mean, mining is like ice mining. Systems with ice belts are easy to keep up. There's a hell of a lot of people mining. Mining is like, it just keeps the indexes really up, and they tend to go down a lot faster, but they don't go down as fast as they used to. And ratting keeps it up. I mean, the changes that were brought in before I think it was at the same time as Aegis of was the change to anomalies, that they brought in more anomalies, and I think that really helped.
That was a huge buff to nullsec, and that was excellent. We did that.
Exactly. And before we continue, guys, going to do the first roll. First roll is going to be Deckard Aura. Congratulations, but you've won a faction or a pirate rookie ship. All you do is need to message the Twitch channel and say, hey, I want a pirate rookie ship, and we will send you the code for you to redeem that inside the game.
And thank you so much to CCP. Again, shameless plug. Somebody in chat was saying that I have trained Shameless Plug to level 5. I am proud of that. Shameless plug. And CCP, thank you, Shameless Plug, for supporting our community with these kind of giveaways. The pirate ship codes are awesome, and in a moment we're going to be giving away not only another one of those, but a set of physical posters you can put on your wall, which are made by Rick Javix. They're awesome. of battle cruisers, just in time for Battlecruiser Buff.
Yes,
see,
perfect.
Look at that. That is shameless plug level 5, ladies and gentlemen. Just sort of tie that back there, you get the layup, and away we go.
And the next giveaway guy is Ashtray86, also a subscriber. Thank you so much for the subscription support there, buddy. Ashtray, make sure you message the channel. We'll get you that code. And I'm going to swap to sub mode real quick for our boys.
Subscribers only. Excellent. This is a physical giveaway from CCP, and these are the posters just in time for the Battlecruiser Buff. And again, you have to follow and sub to be able to qualify for this. If you don't follow to our channel, you don't get anything because you don't care. You don't love us. We don't love you. Follow the channel.
Sub mode is only like halfway working.
Interesting. Well, then you can just have to roll it a few times and see what happens until we get one of our subscribers. We have a adorable new like huggy kitten emote for the stream. I've noticed for people who follow. So following the channel is awesome. It makes the huggy kitten.
The donation one is even better. If someone donates, we'll get to see it.
Well, we didn't actually ask for donations yet. You can donate. So this is a new thing across all of the TMC TV. You can support your specific streamers that you like with donations now by clicking the spy guy thing at the bottom of the page. It's just under the Twitch window, and that goes into their pockets. So do it if you want to support Boat and or Laz and his beard. The meta show actually goes to Laz, not me. So don't worry about supporting the jerk. Sure, this is actually Laz's show. And thank you guys for following. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's see about
doing the roll right now
sub
for our subs. The first one is please Twitch, please.
I think TwitchCon servers are.
There we go.
TwitchCon's a big event, and so I think that things are a little bit wonky, but we'll get through it. Who do we get?
Gus Bus 8664, buddy. You've won a set of 4 posters from Rick Javix, the Battlecruiser poster. Congratulations, man. I need you to message the Twitch channel. Oh, speaking of which, we just got a donation from Raisin Alec. Donation animation too strong. There we go.
Donation animation too strong.
Yes.
Excellent.
So Gus Bus, make sure you message the channel, and I need your physical address. Send me your physical address, real life information. That way I can send these.
Oh wow! Look at that. That's amazing. I haven't seen this before. So guys, we're in a slight delay, so I'm looking at Twitch over here when it goes, and I actually get to see bribing Hypno Kitten. He's in a bee suit, and then he falls off the couch. That is adorable. That is really goddamn cute.
And you didn't hear the sound, but it's actually Fry from Futurama saying, "Shut up and take my money."
Shameless plugging, ladies and gentlemen. That is amazing. So I love the donation animation. Thank you for supporting Laz on the Meta Show. The jerk in the red shirt does not need your support. He's an idiot in a red shirt and thus does not need donations. But anything that you give us on the Meta Show here is going to go straight to Laz and to better increase. It's like a beard subsidy, right? Like he's got one over me in the beard department, so he's going to keep it growing the more that you donate.
Yes.
So there we go.
All right, guys. So we're out of time for today. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope to have you on sometime, especially with all the CSM work you're doing, and maybe after Vegas, maybe get you back on so you can actually talk about what you learned at CSM Summit and maybe discuss how that interaction went. So with that, guys, a big shout out to Blue Microphones. As you can see, myself and the Mittani have our Blue microphones on the camera. They are amazing. So if you need a good
showing his dog off.
Dog. Is it dead?
Mine is moved away.
if you need a really nice USB microphone, you have the blue Yeti, you have the blue Snowball, both great mics, and then new donation from Max and Fed. Thanks for Newbie Tuesday, man. No problem. This coming Tuesday, we haven't decided a topic yet, but we will get that to you. So with that, guys, you have a good enjoy the rest of your Saturday. The next show, Undead Zone, and then after that, you have the boat show.
All right, guys, thanks so much. We'll catch you later. Thanks for donating. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.